I don't understand. That is today's topic. And have you ever just sat there and there's been so much going on and you're just like, I don't understand. I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why it doesn't stop. I don't know why it keeps going. Just, I don't understand. I know I have. I have been there several times over. And that is the thought I had today. I was reading in Exodus and I was reading about the 10 plagues and how over and over again Pharaoh was like, it don't bother me, I don't care. And then he'd lie and he'd be like, make this go away and I'll let your people go, and he still wouldn't let them go. But God knew that, because before all the plagues started, before Moses and his brother even went up there, Moses and Aaron, God was like, I'm gonna harden Pharaoh's heart. And you know why? Because he wanted all the Egyptians, I almost messed up and said Israelites, but he wanted all the Egyptians to know who he was. And that got me thinking, how often do we go through things and it's really for other people? Now, don't misunderstand me. Everything we go through, there is always something for us to learn. There are things that we can change about ourselves, but we aren't the primary goal. You know, it'll work out for our good in the end, but maybe it's so tens of thousands of people can know who Jesus is and give their life to him and their souls be saved. And honestly, when I was reading when I was going over this devotion this morning, I wasn't thinking about this, but you know, I always go back over the devotion and pray before I do these videos, and a situation that a friend of mine is going through came to mind. And she puts herself on TikTok and all these social medias, and she has a lot of followers. She also knows a whole lot of people outside of there, so she has a very big sphere of influence. And she is going through something right now, and I remember talking to her about it one time, and I was like, you know, what if this isn't for you? You know, you're saved. You're going to heaven. She's trusting God through this whole thing. I mean, I'm sure she's nervous about it and she don't want to have to be here, but you know, she's trusting God through it. And what if this is for everyone else that watches her? Everyone else that's seeing what she's going through, that sees what her family's going through. What if it's for all of them to know who God really is? And with that thought, I started to think about Job, because what happened to him didn't come out of nowhere. The Lord offered him up to the devil. He said, have you considered my servant Job? And that makes me think, sometimes God knows that we will stay faithful to him through this. He knows that no matter how bad it gets, that we're not going anywhere, that we're going to stand firm on him, his word, and who he is. And that is going to have an effect on all the people around us. Just like everything that was happening, you know, apparently the 10 plagues were making the Egyptians know who God was. I mean, I hope it don't take frogs in my bed and blood in the water for my extended family to come to the Lord. But you get what I'm saying? And I think about the Israelites, because a lot of times that is who we are. We're the one going through the thing, and we don't think it's fair. And they've been over there in slavery. They were being forced to work 24/7, some hard labor. I'm not just talking about bagging groceries at the grocery store. I mean, they were forced to do hard labor, and it was only getting worse. And so they're standing back and they're watching all these other things happen, and they're like, my God, has the Lord done forgot about us? I mean, I could imagine what they were thinking. If we were them, what would we be thinking? God is not hearing me? Is he not hearing what I'm asking him? Is he not going to come save us? I mean, what's going on? I can't take much more of this. I'm about to go crazy. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to kill everybody if something don't change here soon. I mean, that basically sounds like some of the stuff we got going on. Why me? I do all this good stuff. You know, I honor God. I believe in God. I trust in God. Why is this stuff happening to me? Maybe it ain't all about you. Okay? It wasn't about the Israelites. It was about the Egyptians. You know, but God sure enough turns everything around for our good. Sometimes it takes a little while. You know, we complain when it takes over a couple of weeks or a couple of months or a couple of years, but them Israelites went through it, didn't they? They really did. If you would read, they did. First they were in slavery, and then, of course, they didn't keep a good attitude, so that's part of the reason they was walking around the desert for 40 years, the ones that made it, you know. But I want us to think about that today. And I went through that. We went through that ordeal with my husband when he was addicted to drugs. And I'm sorry, but once an addict, always an addict. I don't believe in that. When God delivers you, he delivers you all the way. They ain't no halfway to it. So don't ever, if you have been addicted, don't you ever let somebody tell you, you're still an addict, you're just a recovery. No. If God's delivered you, who the Son sets free is free indeed. And that is not who you are anymore. I was about to say no more. But when we went through that, I kept wondering, why do I have to go through this? Why do I have to go through this? Now, granted, there were a lot of things the Lord had to work out of me, but I felt like that was a bit extreme. Maybe that's what it took, because I am a little stubborn sometimes. But the people that surrounded our life, the way they were changed just by watching and seeing what God had done, how they were encouraged by what God had done. It was a miracle. You won't convince me otherwise. But we need to shift our focus. You know, we may not understand. I'm not saying that we're going to understand, you know, because when you say it, it just don't make sense sometimes. It really feels like it doesn't. And on the outside looking in, it might not make no sense. But God knows what he's doing. Okay? And we have to trust him. We may not ever understand, even afterwards, we may not understand. But it'll work for good. Now, on the way there might not feel so great. But if even one person could get saved just watching what we're going through, wouldn't that be worth it? Something to think about. All right, I love y'all. Oh, and I'm going to read our scripture today. I didn't read it a while ago. Exodus chapter 7, verse 5. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I stretch out my hand on Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them. It got real bad. Real bad. Before the Lord brought them out of Egypt. Think about that. Think about it all. I love y'all. See you next time.